Hi everybody, this is Scott Sharp with Fretboard Toolbox, and today we're going to look at 4 scales in the key of G on the ukulele. So we'll look at G major pentatonic, G blues, and the G minor pentatonic, which are pretty close. And I'll show you how to be able to visualize those all up and down the uke. So let's take a look. Okay, today we're using a Fretboard Toolbox Complete Ukulele C Tuning Edition, and we're going to go to the key of G major. And at the end of the video I'll show you how to get those pages for free, the G major page for free, and all the instructions. So what we're looking at here is across this first row here, this is the notes in white, and the notes in white are the notes of the G major scale. So G major on every instrument in the world is made of the notes G, A, B, C, D, E, and F sharp. And so I want to know, what are my major scale notes? I want to know what chords are found in that key, because this scale is going to sound cool with these chords, because these chords are in this key. And so the trick that we want to know is, what are some different chord progressions that I could use these scales over? And then we're going to want to know where those notes found all over the fretboard. So that's what we have here. So the notes in white boxes are going to be your G major notes, and just ignore the E minor for now. But G major scale notes are in white boxes. So here's all my G major notes all up and down the fretboard. So let's play. Today I should mention I'm playing a low G note, and so instead of this fourth string being this pitch, this octave here, it's an octave below. So the reason I'm doing that is because it's going to let me do some bass kind of runs, at least bass for a ukulele, but it's going to let me do some runs that I couldn't do otherwise. But I'll try to spend a lot of time up on these strings, so it doesn't matter if you've got a low G or high G. So let's go ahead and get started. So here's my G note. So if I wanted to play the first 3 notes of G major, it would be G, A, B. And so that's like this. Okay, so now I'm going to play G, A, B, C, D. And then I threw a little F sharp in there. And if I want to start on a D and go D, E, F sharp, G, I can do that way. This little slide works because I just went from A up to B. Okay, so that's G, A, B, up to D. Then I could hit this E if I want. So when I know the notes that I'm looking for, I can find them all up and down the fretboard. And if I want to play if someone says, well, what about the G major pentatonic? That's only 5 of those 7 notes that made up the G major scale. And on my books, it's the underlined notes. So G is one of the pentatonic notes, A is, B is, C's not, D is, and E is, and F sharp's not. And then we get back to G. So the pentatonic, pent is 5, so we'd have G, A, B, D, E. So let's do some pentatonic scales here. And then at the end I went D, E, G, because that's all pentatonic. And here I just ended on this G. So it's cool when you can see all those notes that are in the scale, because then you can start playing around with them and building those shapes. And if you're playing a low G like I am, then you can start adding in some of these notes down in here too on your runs. So let me show you something cool that you can do. If you have a Fretboard Toolbox or not, you can always go to the Fretboard Toolbox website and go to Jam Tracks and click on 200 free jam tracks, and it'll take you to this page. And then scroll down, and today we're playing some G major tracks, so I'm going to click here. And then these chord progressions are all from the Toolbox book. So it's me playing through this, and then these, and then the minor ones too. And it always tells you which notes to use and which scales to use. So for these G major chord progressions, I can do G major, which is white box notes, and G major pentatonic, which is the underlined notes. So if I come down here, and the very first thing, and you can play these tracks at different speeds. So let's play all G major chord at one speed here, at a nice low speed. Now I'm just going to mess around with some G major notes. So those notes all sound okay because they're all part of this scale. So that's over just the G major chord, but let's listen to it over, this is G major, D major, G major. It's called the 1-5-1 progression. So let's bump up the speed a little bit, and I'm going to play the same kind of notes and just goof around with them. And if I'm just getting started, I can just hit one note at a time. So that's goofing around over a 1-5-1 progression. And then with there's all these different chord progressions here, and so I can go down to the very bottom, and the bottom is all the tracks on shuffle. So I can hit play, and then I won't look, and I'll fast forward a few times, and then so here's a chord progression. I promise I didn't look, but I know it's in G. So I'm just kind of, and it takes a lot of practice to kind of make it sound good with the music, but even if I'm just going up and down the scale, it still sounds okay. But notice that G's home. That G is the home note in the key of G. And then I'll show you one more trick. Watch what happens when I hit a note that's not in the white box. Let's hit one of these gray ones. Not so good. G sounds good, A sounds good, B sounds good, C sounds good. D flat doesn't sound so good right there, but it can. It just doesn't on this one. So that's a kind of rule-breaking note there that can sometimes sound cool, but it sure didn't in this one. So I would say spend a whole bunch of time practicing with these free jam tracks, because you can find out all sorts of cool stuff from just goofing around and teaching your brain what notes sound good together and those shapes. But I told you we'd learn 4 scales. So far we looked at the major scale, which is all the white boxes here, and then the major pentatonic, which is the underlined notes. But with the complete editions, you get the blues scales too. So now in white, going across, I've got the G minor pentatonic scale. So it's G, B flat, C, D, and F. And then to make it a blues scale, I can add this flat 5, that D flat we tried to play a minute ago. So G, B flat, C, D, F are safe notes when you're playing bluesy kind of stuff. And here's some bluesy chord progressions. And here's those notes laid out all over the fretboard. So now listen to how different this sounds. I'll start on G again, but I'm going to play G, B flat, C, D. So starting here. So that's goofing around just with notes that are in the white boxes here. So let's see what that sounds like over some tracks. So I can go here, and here's some G blues jam tracks, and then I'm going to scroll down, and again that blues scale will sound good over just a regular G chord, which is wild. It's wild that a G major scale and a G blues scale can sound good over a G chord. But watch how this changes the whole feel of this G chord here. Now if I want to add that flat 5 in there, I can use this note that's an asterisk, and there's your blues note. D is the 5 note in G, so here's my flat 5. So that's over just a G chord, and then you can play all kinds of different chord progressions here, and hear what does it sound like what's that scale sound like over these different chord progressions. Let me find a kind of bluesy sounding one here, kind of bluesy rock. So I hope that gives you the idea of what we're doing here. So over these kind of chord progressions, the blues scales sound cool, and then over major scale chord progressions, the major scale sounds cool, and then later on you can start figuring out, like, what if I cheat and play some bluesy notes like that B flat we were playing, and slide that up to a B, and it will give you sounds like this. So you can start seeing, how do I mix these scales, and that's where some really cool stuff starts happening. So it takes a ton of practice and a ton of messing around and lots of mistakes to get soloing down. I'm nowhere near where I want to be, so I keep working at it all the time, and I hope you do too. So if you want to pick up your own toolbox, just go to the Fretboard Toolbox website and go to pick your instrument. We'll do the ukulele book here, and then today we were using the complete, and we were using the interactive one, so we could jump around and click the jump to the different pages quickly. And I've got lots of tabs and stuff here, and all kinds of free jam tracks here, and lots of different lots of toolboxes on lots of instruments. So I appreciate you taking a look. Hope you found something useful, and I'll have lots more videos coming on lots more instruments.